Hello and welcome to Wellness Wednesday, guys. I made the mistake of having a Instagram sesh. I tell you what, some of these things that I was watching on Instagram just had me roaring. I swear to God, I was hysterical at some of the clips I was watching. I put some of them on my Twitter, so if you want to see what I was laughing at, what actually makes Jan laugh, then go and have a look at my Twitter, because honestly, I could not stop laughing. I mean, I can't even go up. You'll be bored silly if I try and go over everything, but it really was quite funny. So I had that, and then I thought, oh, let's make myself a cup of tea. Do you know what? I lost all sense of time. Completely lost all sense of time. Hi, Edna. How are you, my darling? I hope you're well. I'll put the thingy up for you in a minute. Looks like it's just us and the lurkers. Oh no, I'm so upset. Anyway, yeah, so I went and made myself a cup of tea, fed the cat, and oh, I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, and then I was watching Milk Tea's last reaction. She makes me laugh. She was in a good mood today, and she was having a good laugh, and again made me laugh. So I'm in a great old mood, which I normally am on a Wednesday. I like this time to try and chill. As you know, we like to chill on a Wednesday, and not necessarily talk about what's going on in the drama. Well, it's not the drama community, is it? What they call it? Girls' world, whatever. Oh, God. I d Anyway, we're not talking about that. So, I hope you're all well. I hope you've all had a good week. And I've had a really hectic week, actually. I haven't stopped. Um, oh, yeah, sorry, I'm just distracted because I took a puff of my cigarette and it didn't sort of puff, and there's nothing worse than a cigarette that doesn't puff. So, yeah, so I've had a busy weekend and a busy week, and yeah. So, but in the meantime, it's all about keeping warm, guys. It's so cold out there. I don't like it. Can we bring on the spring already? I'm done. I'm done with this cold weather. I really am. So I went into London with my daughter on, was it Sunday, to meet up with my brother, which was fabulous. We had a lovely Mexican meal. That was nice. It's always nice to go to London. And where we go, actually, where we went this time is called King's Cross. And it's been revitalized, and it's just such a fabulous area now. I'm going to cough. Hang on. Yeah, so it's been revitalized, and I've never been a great fan of modern architecture, but um some of it is so good, guys. It really is. So, yeah, so I'll stop rambling about that. But I do love architecture. And the one that I really love the most, there's not a favourite era of mine, but I like it when they mix the two. I'm going to cough again. I'm just going to have a quick break. Hang on, because then I might stop coughing. Wouldn't that be nice? Hang on one sec. This is very annoying. Hey, Edna. Hey, darling.
Hey
Oh,
Jen, how's it going? You know what? That Dana didn't want to let me in.
didn't she? Oh, I tell you
I
what,
think it might
Dana.
just be the two of us today.
Yeah, suits me, darling. I tell you what, that
Mhm.
Dana is the bane of my life. Every time I
I
do a
know.
video, she's there. She pops up at least once, and yeah, I'm like, just go away, Dana. I'm done.
Well, you're not the
How have
only
you
one
been?
because Valley feels the same way.
Mm.
You know what? To be honest, I am still recovering. I had a doctor's appointment this morning. Whenever I have a doctor's appointment, it shoots it like my what is it? The blood pressure skyrockets and everything. But I'm feeling much better. The appointment went very well.
Good.
Um,
I'm glad.
so yeah, I had work today. It went well uh, as well. It's funny because my department, um, they're doing a lot of pivoting. They're doing a lot of flexing with their position.
What?
So everyone's kind of like, "What's going on here? We gonna be fired?" Like, yeah.
Oh God, oh no, there's trouble afoot, is there? Or people are a
No,
bit
I
sort
think
of,
it's just taxes. And it's just like the nature of business, where at least it's been my experience. Now, cut to me a month from now at the end of the season. It's my last season right now.
mhm.
But no, seriously, in my old company, I won the award for like being most agile or something like that because you you have to learn how to flex and how to bend and move and flow, kind of be like water.
Oh really? What, in your work, you mean?
Well, no, that's just my personal philosophy.
Oh, well, that's quite interesting. So it's
Um,
in your line of work then, it's possible to do that, is it? It's quite possible to be sort of a bit pliable and try different things, is it?
I think a lot of people aren't because if you think of kind of like the stereotype of an accountant. They're kind of stuffy, they like things to be by the book and, they like routine X, Y, and Z, which yes, but also you have to, like, when it comes to taxes, at least in America, they're in constant flux if that's what the politicians decide. And right now they're going through, um, I think it's, a bill for additional money given to for having children if you have dependents of a certain age or like just different things that they're talking about. So like we're in the middle of the tax season and they're doing that, so we always have to be able to pivot. And it's kind of the question of, well, how are you going to handle the people that have already filed? And luckily they're at least up to date enough to be able to kind of select who would be affected by the new law and just either target them for an amendment or to receive or to send them the additional funds or whatever. Because they can make the changes for you.
Hmm. That's interesting. So, yeah, so do you work sort of independently? Are you sort of self-employed and you get employed by like a group of uh accountants or something like that? Is that how it works?
Well, me personally, both actually. I work for a company, but the company doesn't have anything against us having like freelance work. So I
Mhm.
also freelance with a company. I actually prepared my first tax return with them this season. It's been a slow season, Jan. I've been doing work that isn't really like my typical role because of the need to review the returns hasn't been there. So we've been doing other things.
Well, it sounds as if you're a valued member of staff, and that's important, isn't it? I think it's very important if you
It is.
if you're employed by somebody else, that you feel as if you're valued, because that can sort of have such a, you know, negative effect on you, if you feel that you're not valued. It's like with anything else in life, you want to feel as if you're valued. So I think that's good for you,
Absolutely.
and perhaps that's what, you know, keeps you positive, you know, to be able to,
Absolutely.
yeah, to feel that way. So, other than that, what did you do at the weekend? Did you do anything, or did you just work at the weekend?
I've just been working, Jan. It's tax season, so I'll tell you what I'm doing afterwards. I know I've been also looking into, thinking about buying a house more as we get closer to the end of my lease, which is in
You started ages
August.
ago, didn't
Um,
you?
I did.
Started looking at houses. Hi, random
The
fish. Hope
drama.
you're well, darling.
Hey, Fish. Fish is just the three of us, girl.
Yeah, and do you know what?
How
I
was your
say it every
day?
time. I'm quite happy, and honestly, I'm delighted. Do you know, sometimes I go into chats and just the whole vibe in the chats is so toxic. I just don't want to be in there, you know, and I
It
really
is.
don't want that in my chat either. You know, I'm like, just stay over
Well,
there with your
did
toxicity.
you did you hear Jan?
What?
I am more than welcome in your mama's chat.
Oh God, are you?
It was last week I was a moron. Last week he couldn't even
Ah.
figure out why I would speak to you. And yesterday I was welcome. He was considering me as mine. I'm
No,
honored.
no. Oh my
It
God.
was so fun, Jan. I can't believe you did a foodie beauty video. What came over you?
I don't know. I think I was very brave because
You
uh,
were. I'm proud of you.
how I feel about it, and you know how it
Yeah.
triggers me, and I don't
Mhm.
like to be triggered when I'm online. So, yeah, it was quite brave of me. Um, oh, okay. Hi, Bridge. Nah, he called all of us dog poo. Now Edna has a yeah. Edna
Hey,
has an
Britt.
invitation. Do you know what? I think, hang on, I've got a bit of dinner in my mouth. I think he's becoming more and more of a lol cow. And the funny thing is, he really doesn't realize it, but he's, you know, this situation with Edna, people don't seem to understand that you can, you know, have an online sort of friendship with somebody and just get along with them and just chill with them. And it doesn't mean to say that you have to 100% agree with everything they say or how they may, you know, portray themselves online. But some of these people, they just don't get it, you know, and it's quite, it's quite
Well,
fascinating to me.
I
It's quite funny. I
think
bet Bridge
also
has
some people don't realize. Oh,
a
sorry,
go
go
on.
ahead, Jan.
Well, I was gonna say, I
My
bet
apologies.
Bridge has a wonderful time analyzing these people because, you know, I'm very
Yeah.
interested in the psychology of, you know, in psychology. It was something that had I have considered before I went into education, I would, you know, if I'd have considered it quite deeply, I probably would have gone into that, you know. Um, but I like psychology. I like seeing the difference in people and the similarities. And I think as time goes on, that particular sector, you know, of girl world, because we can't call them all, not all girl world are toxic. There are some areas such as milk tea, such as garlic bread, who else? Karina Kaboom, who aren't toxic people. So therefore, if you, I mean, they don't do live streams, but if you look in their comment section, you can see they're not all toxic people in there. So I don't know what it is.
But
Is
I'm
it
not so
because people
sure
is it
because
because
you think
people
someone.
is it because when people go live, there's certain creators, and I'm not gonna name names because we're not doing Drama Friday, but there's certain creators who are, um, run by their chats, I'll put it that way, and I can kind of understand it to a certain degree. Like, I like to look at my chat because, there's not many people in here, so it's easy for me to see what people are saying. But there's certain people that I feel are getting batteries put in their back by their, by their chat, and I don't think it's a good thing for them. It's not a good thing because it encourages them to, work or show certain sides to their personality that, uh, are not positive. I'll put it that way. Let me just see what Random Fish has put here. Wait, Jan, I think Barley accidentally modded a Jan's views she thought was you. Jane's views. Oh, I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't often go into Barley's chat. Um, and I'll be honest, she doesn't really cover, the things I like. I like seeing her cook. That's the main thing. I like seeing her cook, but I'm not really interested in this situation she has going on with Just Breezing. I'm not interested in that. So I generally, if I see she's live, I might pop in, but I don't really like all the yelling and everything towards Just Breezing. No, that's just the way I feel. But I modded her here because I wanted her to feel that she had a voice because she said on
Yeah.
many occasions that she doesn't have a voice. So I thought, okay, you can have a voice over here. I don't mind. So yeah, what were you going to say, Edna, before I carried on?
I lost I mean I had a couple of different points, but I can't remember. Okay, so I was gonna be a little messy. So you were
Mhm.
probably best to cut me off some of those times. So let me pick the most Wellness Wednesday topic that I was thinking. Okay. I don't know. When you think about the field of psychiatry overall, it seems a little like you're spinning around the same problem where you're, pathologizing. I'm saying it wrong, saying it weird, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, keep talking.
Over, yeah, issues until kind of niche down into these different diseases. But you're so focused on diseases, doesn't seem to be any focus on, treatment for it and, like how you can improve upon when we talk about a narcissism, for instance, it's like they're always a narcissist. Like you want to avoid them, but it's never like how to, uh, not that it would be our job to like reform or, I guess like help a narcissist become, be in remission or whatever the term would be. But, I know I've heard for BPD that having a healthy relationship essentially helps treat the disease or the disorder.
There's a lot of, dare I say, grey areas in psychiatry. And I mean, I don't know whether I'd sort of I think in order to go into psychiatry, it's more, um, it's more studying and everything. I'm more sort of interested in sociology, which I did get, I passed, my exams for that, funnily enough. But,
You
I'm
said
more
you what?
interested in sociology and psychology. But I think there's no it's quite interesting what you say, and because there are so many, you've got the main they're not diseases, they're illnesses. So you get the main mental health illnesses, but then there's so many branches that come off of one particular thing, you know, like a narcissist, you know, people can be narcissistic without actually having the disorder, without actually being branded with or diagnosed with, you know, the disorder. So, you know, there's so many different pathways that lead from one thing. You know, if you look at it like a tree, and it's planted, say you've got a narcissist tree and it's planted, all the roots are going to go off in so many different areas. There's not just one root that leads to the narcissist tree. Do you see what I mean? And
Absolutely.
it's like with a lot of other mental illnesses, it's very difficult to or it's very similar actually. If you imagine each illness as a tree that's planted, and then imagine all of the roots that stem from that tree, that's what psychology is about. So although you do get people, you know, psychologists who have studied it for years and years, and also psychiatrists who are also, they're the people that are more to do with you know, the medical side of things, how to treat it in a medical way, which is normally by pills or something. Um, but the psychologists, it's such a massive field, such a massive tree, a massive orchard, if you like, or meadow of trees that, you know, with so many different illnesses in one. So yeah, it's very complex. Um, and you know, it's quite interesting that I watch some psychologists and some psychiatrists on YouTube, and what you normally find is most of them are specific to one or two of the illnesses because it's too vast otherwise. It's just too vast to
Mm.
cover so much, you know. Let's see. What's that? Yeah. Oh, an impersonator. Also, so there's one called Jane's Views, is there? Oh, that's interesting. Aren't they bored yet? I don't mind. It keeps my name out there. I don't mind. Um, I think there is no recognized treatment for a narcissist. It's upon us to manage ourselves and to navigate around them, I think. That's a really good point. And I think I would agree with you then there because I think you find with narcissists, they generally, and I'm speaking very generally, as far as I understand, they actually don't realize that they're narcissists. So, in order to get any help at all, especially as regards mental illness, you need to be able to admit to it. And I don't think narcissists do. I don't know if they have that capacity, you know, of looking at themselves and saying, "Oh my God, yeah, I am narcissistic. Oh yeah, I do put myself above everybody else." Do you know what I mean? Because it's not a very nice trait to have, is it? So yeah, it's quite
Right.
confusing. Quite confusing.
Well, I think
But
also
anyway,
depending on the perspective, who can fault someone for putting themselves first? You know, like if you don't look out for yourself, you know, depending on the circumstance, you might be the only
well,
one. You know, I feel like
it can be very
yeah,
contradictory for sure. But I
yeah,
think, you know, where it comes to narcissism, I think, um, as I said, narcissists don't notice it in themselves, don't recognize it in themselves, but other
mhm,
people would notice it. And, you know, again, there's varying strengths of narcissism. You know, I mean, they say that people who are are very successful in life are probably narcissists because they do put themselves first, you know. Um, and that's why,
right.
yeah, I mean, that's how I know I'm not a narcissist because I've never put myself first. But yeah, it's quite interesting. Um, yeah, you can't tell a narc they're a narc because it impedes treatment. Yeah, you sort of have to guide them that way. Exactly. I tell you, one of my older cousins is a narc or has no narc tendencies. Yeah, I mean, there are an awful lot of them about, and a lot of them do get into high positions of power within, the work field. So, yeah, it's difficult. I think it's how people use their narcissism. I don't think it's the most damaging of mental illnesses, but I think as long as I don't know, I think it depends on the extremes. And it's like anything in life, anything too extreme is not a good thing, you know, whether it's narcissism or
Right.
what it is, whether it's drinking, whether it's smoking, whether it's doing drugs. Anything in excess is not a good thing. So I think that's the same with narcissism. But I think in order to yeah, as Bridge says, absolutely. The military has a high percentage of narcs. Yeah, I believe so as well, because they're the type of people that just think, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know how a narcissist thinks, but I know that they're very single-minded type of people, from what I can gather. She's actually smart and educated. She is very controlling, though, and very self-focused. Yes, to an unusual degree. Yeah. I mean, the best way uh, for a narcissist to be is to get into a career like going in the forces, or being in like a high-powered job. They would probably excel, because that's what drives them, whatever it is.
The
You
hierarchy?
know? Um,
What's the appealing
it's the
part of
need.
of the military?
Sorry, say that again?
I said, what would be the appealing or the attractive what's attractive about the military to an art?
Because they're in charge. I think narcissists like to be in control. I think the main component of having a narcissistic mind is that you want to be in control, not only of yourself, but of others. So if you imagine you go into the army and you become like, the top guy, I've forgotten the ranks now, but you become a sergeant and then on from there.
Lieutenant,
Um, yeah, lieutenant, sergeant major, and all that. The narc
colonel,
will definitely, yeah, and then colonel. The narc will prosper there, you know, because it's that need to be the very best that's inside a narc. Without It's always amazed me when people have always said that, there's certain people that say, well, in order to get to the top, you've got to tread on a few people. And I've always thought, well, I wouldn't do that. I've never understood that. You
yeah,
must have
absolutely
heard that
not.
saying when they say, "Oh, you have to tread on a few people to get to the top." And I'm like, "Well, no, I'd rather not actually." But
Yeah,
I
I
think
haven't heard that. I heard of it, but I haven't, heard someone say that to me. But when it comes to billionaires like Beyonce, Jay-Z, Rihanna, there's a creator that I watch on YouTube. He's like, there are no ethical billionaires. I think that's
no,
interesting.
they're all narcissistic because that's how they've got there. But I mean, for me, as long as they're treating people around them well, I don't think it really matters. I mean, if that's how they see their life, that's how they want their life to be. Um, I would I would think that they're very, very lonely people inside. Um, because for me, that wouldn't be enough. That wouldn't be enough for me to feel that I was the very best at something. That doesn't mean anything to me. I would much rather, I don't think in those terms, but I know some people do, you know, and if you listen, if that's why I like documentaries. If you listen to um some very successful people who talk about how they got to be so successful, they have climbed over people. They haven't been the kindest person, you know, and they have climbed over people to get, you know, further up the ladder. They've been very single-minded. And I think, you know, I don't want to, because I've not really studied it that much, but I don't want to say that anyone that's successful must be a narcissist. That's not actually what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I think you do have to have a certain mindset um, to be very, very successful. And I think in doing so, a lot of the other things fall by the wayside. And I think that's what makes, you know, narcissists quite successful. You got anything to say on it, Edna?
Yeah, I would agree.
Right.
Yeah, no, I
Well,
was just
I
gonna
was
say I
gonna,
agree. And I think also it's one of those things that Jen, you said I had the floor. Oh, rest in peace to Eric Mays.
what? What are you talking about, Edna? You've got the floor. I've said, what have you got to say about it? And you're
No,
having some random conversation. Rest in peace to who? What?
there's an American politician, highly regarded politician that passed away recently, and he went viral for many things, but one was saying was just standing up for himself and talking about how he was supposed to have the floor in the meeting, and one of the other council members or who have you was speaking over him or cut him off or something. I'm sorry, Gene.
That's all right, darling. Did you have anything else you wanted to say before we actually move on to a section that I have prepared? You're going to be
No, let's
well
go for
proud of
it.
me. I have I've prepared this, guys. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to move us over to there, are we? No, we're going to move us to,
Oh, how did that work?
because I'm
We're at
clever.
different levels.
I am such,
Oh,
I'm just beyond clever that, you know, what can I say? I just am. So this is what I've actually,
then the advanced StreamYards.
oh, if you don't mind.
Let's
This is what I
see.
planned. I planned a bit of true crime. And today I thought we could discuss the Alec Baldwin trial. If you say you don't know anything about it, Edna, you're out of here.
Jenny surprised me. I had no clue.
Oh no! Are you
I know a
serious?
little bit about it though. I do know a little bit about this. No, this is the perfect kind of true crime. This is something that's not too creepy. Like I'm all for it. I'm excited. Is in the
Good.
chat. Put a one in the chat if you're excited.
Well, there's only two people in, so it's not worth it. Um, Right, now I like true crime, and I also like the courtroom crimes, you know, the videos that they have on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's absolutely astonishing what they show on there. And at the moment, you've got the Idaho 4, where the supposed, okay, alleged killer is making so many demands about where he wants to have the trial and all this palaver. Anyway, maybe we'll talk about him another time. But this week, I thought we could discuss this, the Alec Baldwin trial. I
Okay.
think it's amazing. I think, well, not amazing in a good way. I think it's astounding how many mistakes were made. Well, I've made it bigger for myself so that I can read it. So, the things we know so far are that
Are
both
these
Alec
mistakes
Baldwin,
on set or mistakes during the
Sorry? Right.
So
The
there's
things
definitely a delay. I was gonna say, is there a mistake during the set, like on set during the filming of the movie, or a mistake
yeah.
during the court process?
Let me read it to you, okay? And
Okay.
then I've got a
Hey,
video for you for
Valley.
us to watch. Hi, Barley. I hope you're well, darling. Right, now the Alec Baldwin trial, for people that don't know, Alec Baldwin is one of the Baldwin brothers, American, who's done very well in the film industry. Okay, on his latest film that he actually wrote himself, and he was
Oh.
directing it, which I think is very poignant to the story, to what actually happened. Now, the things we know so far are that both Alec and a crew member on the set of his movie entitled Rust are to be charged with the involuntary manslaughter of a videographer, Helena Hutchins, whilst on the set. Now, Baldwin has stated that he didn't pull the trigger. Now, I think that may be his biggest mistake, because I think he can't backtrack on that. Now that he's said, "Oh, I didn't pull the trigger," he can't then come back and say, "Well, actually, I did pull the trigger, but whatever." Do you know what I mean? I think because he
Mm-hmm.
said that so early on, he's got to stick with that now, hasn't he?
Well, I mean, he could just say that he's coming clean. I don't know. Can
Yeah,
he
but
do
then
that?
people would just look at him as being a liar. And he's not gonna
Yeah.
want that. That's not very good going into a court case known as as a known liar. So I don't think that's what I mean by it being a mistake, because I don't think he's gonna be able to backtrack on that. So the other person to be
I don't
charged is
understand. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
the other
I
person to
got
be charged
excited.
the other person to be charged is a girl, and I call her a girl because she's only about 22, called Hannah, and she's got
Okay.
a Italian name, and I can't pronounce it very well. Now, she was the armourer whose responsibility was to be in charge of the weapons on the set. Okay, so the set was chaotic. So, and this doesn't look good on Alex, because at the end of the day, or Alec rather, is it Alec Baldwin or Alex? It's Alec, isn't
I
it?
would think it would be Alec.
Yeah. This again isn't going to look very good on him, because it's his film. Do you know what I mean? So he should be in charge.
Right.
So anyway, um, the set was apparently chaotic, and 5 people had already left, allegedly for this reason, for the reason that it was so, you know, chaotic. Now, there were
Would there be
2 now
production?
this is something that I find really interesting and disturbing. Hang on.
Jen, you're leaving us hanging.
There were
Oh,
2
Bally. We w- we were trying to tell you that you might have Jane's views modded in your chat. That's not Jan. Just a
Yeah.
FYI.
Did you have a Jane's view come in your chat, Barley? Because if you did, it wasn't me, darling. So apparently there were 2 prior occasions, um, that a firearm had discharged accidentally whilst the movie was being made. So
Wow.
it's already happened twice before, and third
Yeah.
time unlucky, because that poor girl got shot straight through the heart. So anyway, I think what we do, because I can't talk very well, I'm coughing a bit today. So what we're going to do is present this, and we're going to listen. We're going to have to stop every so often. Right. Okay. So I found this site, this YouTube, called Court TV. Hang on, I need a drink. Hang on.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So I found this called Court TV. This is the one that my daughter watches actually. And it explains everything. So I thought we'll just sit and we'll watch this together and maybe stop and say our bit every so often. So here we go.
On October 21st, 2021, Alec Baldwin was filming a Western movie entitled Rust in Bonanza Creek, New Mexico. Baldwin was rehearsing a scene with director Joel Souza and cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Baldwin was seated in a church practicing a cross draw with a .45 caliber revolver. As Baldwin practiced pulling the weapon from the left side of his body with his right arm, the gun discharged.
My first question when I heard about this was, why was there a real gun on set?
On the set.
Is that
I
part of
know.
the protocol that was broken?
Yeah. Yeah. There was so many things that were broken. There was so many, safety protocols that were broken. It's just astonishing that it was allowed to go on, to be honest. Right, I'm going to play this and run off and blow my nose and hopefully feel a bit better. So I'm going to play it for a little while to catch up.
The bullet struck Helena Hutchins and Joel Souza. Souza survived, but Helena did not. An investigation into what was happening on the set revealed some shocking circumstances. Investigators say they found 6 live rounds on the set, including some in a photo with the woman in charge of gun safety, 24-year-old armorer Hannah Gutierrez. Additional live rounds were found in a box marked dummy rounds. Meanwhile, Alec Baldwin insists his finger was not on the trigger. Tonight, we take a closer look at the gun. Is it possible that it malfunctioned? And could Helena Hutchins have been saved by emergency responders? All this as we continue our investigation into the Baldwin movie shooting. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you.
Right. So have we got any questions to ask on that, Edna? It's quite a sort of...
So all of this has already been set.
Say that again.
I said
All
all
of
of
this
this
has
has
been
already
said.
been settled, right?
No, it hasn't been settled. That's why they're going to court. I think this
So
one...
this is still ongoing? I thought it was
Yes.
already done with.
No,
Oh,
no, no.
okay.
Right, now this one is 16 hours ago. I watched most of this morning, and what was I gonna say? I think the court case, I think at the moment, I think I'm right in saying that this is the court case for the armourer. Now, the armourer is the young girl that's meant to have checked the weapons on the set. Now, it turns out that she didn't check them. So what I'm wondering is if they're going to try and use her as the scapegoat when in actual fact the whole thing was a disaster. It was a disaster waiting to happen. So
Right. Okay, so Britt says that they brought up charges on him again. Okay, so
oh
this
right.
was okay.
Okay, so I don't know. Did they have a case before then, Bridge? She was inexperienced and incompetent, yes. And you'll see on here, I saw a piece of her actually at the scene when it had first happened. And I don't know, she sounded as if she was on drugs. I'm sorry, but yeah, she didn't sound very, yeah, what can I say? Also what I've learned is that her husband, sorry, get that right, her father is very well known as an armorer. I'm not sure whether it's in films. I'm guessing it was in films. So I'm wondering whether she got that position through her father. There's so many interesting aspects to this
Right.
case. But so let's move on a bit because I think he explains it a lot better than I do.
so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. This trial continues out in New Mexico. And when we talk about what was taking place, this was the filming of a movie, a Western, with a lot of guns. Most Westerns do have guns. That's the genre. The genre's been around a long, long time. So it would seem that people in Hollywood would understand and know how to film a Western without setting off live rounds.
See, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. Why? Why did these guns have live rounds in them? It's insane. So what did Bridge say there? They did have a case before that they dropped. Who dropped it? I would think.
That's what I thought.
Okay. I would think that Baldwin, listen, it's the same thing. People in power, they get away with murder. Sorry. But they do. Look at O.J. Simpson. And that's just the world in which we live. It doesn't mean it's a fair world. It's not. So it will be interesting to see if he gets away with it. But let's hear the ins and outs. I like this guy. I think he's I like the way he puts it, and I think it's quite easy to understand the story, and he gives you a lot of information about it as well.
But that didn't happen here. 3 times. 3 times a live round was set off on this during the filming of this movie. 3 times. The last one taking the life of Helena Hutchins. Now,
isn't it? Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Can you believe that? 3 times. So they could have shot 3 other people as well. It's insane to me.
Listen, Jen, we might laugh or, make, I don't know, like feel some kind of way when we have to go through the process of, when every little thing might happen at our job, or you have to fill out this form or, report to this person or whatever. But this is why, like, when you don't do that, things happen. Because there's no way that this should have been allowed to happen 3 times without things being corrected.
I know. And that's why I think it's really important that these channels, and there's a lot of them out here, I know, give you the information and the facts, because a lot of people wouldn't know. I don't know the ins and outs of this story because I don't watch the news. I don't like the news. But I'll watch something on YouTube. So I follow a lot of these. I don't even know. No, I'm not subscribed to that one, but I'm subscribed to one called Law and Crime or something like that. And they're very active on YouTube, and that's where I get a lot of the news. I didn't know about. Remind me what happened to Brandon Lee. And did he die before Bruce died? Do you know anything about that, Edna?
I don't. Excuse me. Let me see. I'm sure.
I know Bruce
Bruce
died quite young, didn't he? I used to like him. I used to love his kung fu films. Okay, let's carry on.
Let's talk about the movie a little bit. Alec Baldwin was not just the star of the movie, he was also executive producer. Big star, small movie. That's the way you have to look at this. All right, this isn't a major studio production with hundreds of millions of dollars being flooded into it. No, it's a smaller movie, an independent movie.
Which I guess, if you look at it like that, you can kind of, well, it makes me think, well, what's the word for it? Was it like a bodge up? Over here, we'd say it's like a bodge up, or I hate to say it, but a cowboy, a cowboy outfit, which means it's people that are just sort of, they're not fully qualified. That's how we would put it over here. What's Bridget saying? He was playing around with what he thought was a prop gun and blew himself away. Oh my God. How old is he? Was he an adult? That's awful.
Okay, I'm saying something different. I'm saying that he took the wrong medication and he died from like swelling, or what does it say?
That's Bruce Lee, isn't it? That's not his son.
It's an allergic reaction. It's swelling on the brain.
Wasn't that Bruce Lee, though?
Oh, okay, this was Bruce Lee. We're talking about his son. Gotcha.
Yeah, okay, Edna. Right, okay. Let's carry on with this.
With an A-list superstar, Alec Baldwin, executive producer, and of course, the star in front of the camera of this movie. And the reason that presumably people would go watch it and see it. Oh, Alec Baldwin's in this movie. Must be good. Let's go watch it.
I'm not sure I like Alec Baldwin, to be fair. And I just don't like, I mean, the way he's sat there in the court. I don't know. He's got a look of arrogance about him, and I don't like that. But hey, how would how would we look if we were faced with that? I don't know. I haven't, from what I've seen, I haven't seen any remorse from him. That's why I think I don't like him.
You know what, Jan? When it comes to
For
questions
Helena,
like that, I used to say, yeah, you never know until you're in that situation, right? I'll tell you
Yeah.
this, I would never be in that situation. A gun is not something to play with. I wouldn't be, holding a gun.
Well,
Period.
what they're saying is that it was like a cross. He was meant to be doing like a cross action where the gun maybe was in the holster on the left side of his body, but he had to reach it with his right hand. So he was practicing it. So he was practicing taking the gun out and, with the right hand from the left hand side, from the left side of himself. But they've also, and this is why it drives me nuts, when you get like the defense come on and they try and make all kinds of situations up, all kinds of excuses, it really annoys me, because at the end of the day, we're talking about a young girl that was blown away, she was shot. And I think what actually happened, I think I'm right in saying there was another guy that was injured, but I think I'm right in saying that the
Yeah,
bullet went through him and then to her, or it went
that's what I was gonna
through,
say. Not to forget about that man. Yeah.
or I think it went through her and into him. I don't know, but he got two people in one shot. But yeah, the guy survived. Right, he thinks it's not his fault. Exactly. And this leads us to the narcissist. See, we know what we're doing over here. We know what we're talking about. That is a typical narcissistic reaction. He doesn't look at his face. He's not sorry. Oh, anyway, I'm not going to get annoyed. So let's carry on.
Hutchins, the cinematographer in this one, this was a great opportunity. You're working with Alec Baldwin. So the movie's going to get some buzz. It's an independent movie, so it's one that Alec Baldwin must believe in to do. Probably not the biggest money maker, but he's invested in everything and will make money from the profits as an executive producer. But again, not one of these super blockbuster movies, but a great, great opportunity for Helena Hutchins, so you can understand why she would want to be there.
I'm going to interject here because if I don't, I'm going to forget. Now, I heard something today which I got unbelievable. It may have been in this video at the very end, but this young girl who lost her life, right? Her husband has now started working, or after she died, is now working on the film to finish the film off, and he's down as like an executive producer of the film. Can you believe that? Her own husband.
Maybe that's just like a legal thing for for him, like for the family or whatever to be compensated
That's a good
for
point,
whatever
actually.
reason.
Yeah. Still doesn't
I
make it
couldn't
right.
imagine that he would, yeah.
Right, let's carry on.
Despite the fact that these negligent discharges were taking place, why she would stay to film this movie. For her career, Hollywood's a tough place. It's a tough, tough place, tough town to make it. And for her, she saw this as this movie could be the big one for me. This could be the one that catapults me to the next level in the industry. Cost her life. So what happened?
I like this guy because he's animated and he seems genuine in what he's saying.
Yeah.
He's showing, he's showing emotion towards what actually happened, to this young girl, instead of it all being about, poor Alec Baldwin or whatever. It shouldn't actually be about him. It should be about this young woman who lost her life.
Wait, are people saying poor Alec Baldwin?
Well, some people will be, won't they? Oh, well, it can't be very nice shooting somebody. You know what people are like. Unbelievable. Anyway, let's carry on.
Okay.
Right, I want to find... What's that bit? Firearms expert. Right, then they start talking about the firearm and they're trying to sort of make out that there was a fault with it. Because Alec said that he never pulled the trigger, they're like, oh, well, maybe the gun was faulty. So, yeah, let's hear what they've got to say about that. I saw that bit. I don't know who this woman is that they keep... I don't know whether
Do we know who the gun manufacturer is?
Yeah.
There's Dana.
Based on the experiment that we did with this gun back in August of 2023, even if the hammer of the gun was damaged on October 21st of 2021, would the trigger have to be pulled for the gun to fire?
Two things. Yes, the trigger would have to be depressed or pulled. The hammer would have to be at the full cock position, and it can't be damaged because it would do what we saw here, and what you just saw here would not fire the gun.
Right, so I think that woman is the same, is the armorer. Okay, not the woman who was just talking, the young girl, the young woman that they're showing in the seat, yeah? So she's the armorer because I think this case is about her and her responsibility on the film, because it was her responsibility to check all the firearms, in which case, what the hell were they doing with live bullets? Why did they have to have live bullets? Doesn't make sense to me. So the defense, I'm not going to play all of it, but the defense, yeah, I think that must be her. She looks a lot different to how she looked on the day. But oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, so the defense are going to make this big thing about the fact that the gun was later destroyed by the FBI because they were trying to find out whether it was faulty or not, and in doing so they broke it, basically. I mean, you couldn't make it up. But the defense are going to use that and say, well, we can't even examine the gun now to see whether it was broken, even though the FBI have said that the gun wasn't broken. There's no way that gun would have fired without him pulling the trigger.
I think the fact that they had to break it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's move on to her in this young girl that sat there all looking all pretty there. No, not that one. There in the court. This is her when she was when she was being interrogated.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at this. This is her.
Hold on, that might be a regular live round though. It looks pretty, that's what they were thinking, it could be a live round. No, I just think you said, and I think it's what is protocol because of Lee, when all that happened on set too, was there anything that stuck out of the ordinary today to you? No, I mean, just the whole camera crew quit. That's all. So we were like super behind and everything. When did the camera crew quit? Yesterday. So is there a reason? I don't know.
I mean, to me, she doesn't seem that bothered. It's like, you know, she sat there with her arms on the table and her her head in her hand. I'm like, girl, you were responsible. You were responsible for checking to see whether that gun had bullets in it. And I'm not completely blaming her for this, but I think it's a whole domino effect. I think the whole set was a shit show, and the main reason was because there were people like this who were in charge or supposedly responsible for the safety of others. And I think that they should be held accountable, and that includes Alec. And I don't think it matters what excuses he comes up with. It was involuntary manslaughter because he killed somebody and injured somebody else. So I just find it astonishing, Edna, that they feel anyone would think they're just talking about, what did you do last weekend? Oh, well, I just went out, my friend took me out somewhere and we had a bit of a laugh. Do you know what I'm saying? Where is the concern of this woman? It's insane to me. Absolutely insane. So I'm going to move over to what some of these reporters say, because they're quite interesting what they say.
Did someone sabotage this set, not want this movie made? And then you hear Hannah Gutierrez saying that she cannot imagine someone doing such a thing. She can't even fathom it.
Yeah, I think that would be, now we're talking about a murder case if someone did that. But there were 2 prior negligent discharges of weapons on the set before they left. My guess is it's more likely they left because guns are being fired and there's other problems, like she said, that they're behind, so they're being rushed, etc.
Yeah, he's talking about the fact that, I don't know whether it was that Hannah that said it, but apparently people were leaving the set just before it happened because they felt unsafe. And I'm not surprised. You imagine you're booked to act in this movie, and there's people walking around with blooming loaded guns that keep going off. I think I'd walk off set.
Listen, Jen, absolutely not. I wouldn't be in there.
Isn't it terrible?
It's not worth it.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And that's why I do believe that Alec should be punished for this, because some of it, if not all of it, is his responsibility. Yeah, the girl also as well. But who runs a ship like that? It's like,
okay, so when you talk about who's in charge, I thought production makes sure things going smoothly and kind of like everything is going like the plan.
There's a whole team of people, but the ultimate responsibility comes down to the producer and the director, and the producer and director of that film was Alec Baldwin. That's the point.
Oh, he was the producer and director.
Yes.
Oh.
Which all, coming together creates a real problem here. Kelly Craft in New Mexico tonight. Great to see you. We will speak again tomorrow night. Thank you so much. Okay, let's talk about the movie itself, this movie Rust. What do we know about it? Let's bring in our special guest joining us in Los Angeles, California, entertainment reporter and host of...
No, not interested in that. Right. Ironically, the movie is about a young boy that is sentenced to whatever, I don't know what he's sentenced to, for accidentally shooting someone. Ironically, I say ironically because the same thing bloody happens. Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's what the movie's about.
You after sentencing. So a little bizarre to discover that plot line.
Absolutely. And I didn't realize that the movie was co-written by Alec Baldwin. So I mean, this was his movie. This is really his movie. So did they ever finish it?
So Rust resumed filming at the Yellowstone Film Ranch in Montana at the end of April 2023. The film finally wrapped in May of the same year. Originally, the production had a filming schedule of just 21 days. That started in New Mexico on October 6, 2021, with a budget of between $6 and $7 million. Obviously, those are two goals or projections that production just did not meet. When they resumed filming in Montana, this set had 0 working weapons and what they referred to as enhanced safety protocols.
Yeah, so they've cleared everything up now. Oh, we've shot someone. Maybe we shouldn't have live bullets on the set. I mean, I'm just amazed. I'm just absolutely amazed at this. Right, hang on, let's go along here. It's quite interesting what she says, I think, there. Right, okay.
Yes, you
serving
are
in the capacity
right.
of executive producer. He said in a statement involving the conclusion of his monetary settlement, as part of that settlement, his case was dismissed. The film of Rust, which I will now executive produce, he says, will resume with all the original principal players on board. Now, he clearly seems to be endorsing the film through that statement. However, the late cinematographer's mother, father, and sister are not involved in the film and have an active lawsuit that names the production company Baldwin, Gutierrez Reed, and more.
Wow.
Right. So the bit you missed there, I'm sorry, is when she said that this girl's husband is now working on there. He's now worked to finish the movie. Let me play that back. I should have. Right, okay.
This movie will have.
So I did call the U.S. distributor today, and I tried to get some answers for you. I can't tell if they can't or won't give me answers on it because they perhaps are trying to distance themselves. It doesn't have a release date at this time, and it is unclear if or how the trials are affecting that release schedule.
And there was one interesting development that happened where Matthew Hutchins, Helena's husband, widower now, is now an executive producer of this movie?
Yes, sir. Matthew Hutchins, serving in the capacity of executive producer. He said in a statement involving the conclusion of his monetary settlement, as part of that settlement, his case was dismissed. The film of Rust, which I will now executive produce, he says, will resume with all the original principal players on board. Now, he clearly seems to be endorsing the film through that statement. However, the late cinematographer's mother, father, and sister are not involved in the film and have an active lawsuit that names the production company Baldwin, Gutierrez Reed, and more.
Wow. So I thought all the civil stuff was wrapped up, but it's not because her family's still involved there. Interesting stuff. We'll keep an eye open to see when this movie is released. And
yeah, I don't think the movie should be released. I mean, because the thing is, there's a lot of people that, you know, enjoy ghoulish stuff. So there will be people that go just because they know somebody was killed while making that movie. So I'm just astonished that they're going through with it, to be honest with you. Absolutely.
Right. Now this, you know, I'm not.
Sorry, what did you say?
I would say I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, but it is very weird that the subject of, or the synopsis of the movie is about a boy that is on the run for accidentally killing someone, and someone gets accidentally killed
I
in the
know.
making of the film.
And in the film, the part that Alec Baldwin plays is the grandfather of the boy who
Mhm.
goes out, I think,
Right.
seeking vengeance or something. That's
Well,
the
then I
story.
assume he wouldn't be the boy.
Yeah. Right, let's just get rid of that. Okay.
How those 6 plans work around that gun.
Right, now this is the FBI guy who was, who examined the gun to make sure that it wasn't faulty. And consequently, I mean, they did everything to it to see whether, it could have been the reason why it fired without Alec pulling the trigger. But yeah, so that's him. So these guys, I think, are quite interesting. Let's see what they've got to say. I've forgotten now. Right, let's go here.
California safety expert, author of the book Get Safe, Stuart Haskin is with us. Great to have you both here. David, and you're a lawyer too, David, I know, right? You're a lawyer too. But is this crazy that we're breaking evidence to prove that to fire a gun, you have to pull the trigger? Like, I know that's what Baldwin kept saying, my finger wasn't on the trigger, but we know kind of what he did. There's witnesses who could tell you that saw it. There's a video of him doing it prior to lunch, and there's him describing what he did. So why is the FBI taking a mallet and destroying the evidence?
That's a really good question. You would, look, we test firearms. When I was at Quantico, let's say DEA or FBI was considering authorizing a particular gun. One thing you want to make sure that the gun doesn't go bang if it gets dropped inadvertently or slammed or someone bang. You're in a tussle during an arrest. So those impact type tests have a great benefit. But here, there was no impact. There was absolutely no need to do that. And you're exactly right. So now the defense is going to say, so what you're telling us is we can't bring in our independent experts to show how that gun could have malfunctioned, that could have gone off. You destroyed the evidence. We are now incapable of showing the jury that you were mistaken because you broke it. So
that's exactly what I said earlier, that they're going to use that now as a defense, which again, I think is disgusting. It's just to get Alec off the murder charge. And I think that's disgusting. There was nothing wrong with the gun. The guy who talks next says something different.
There was a security advisor, there was the armor, and then the fact that Alex says his finger wasn't on the trigger. If he hasn't shot a lot, that's a natural recourse. I was just working with some firearm shooting, and the first thing they do is, they always put their finger on the trigger, and that's the biggest lesson. So I kind of feel like he may not know it was on the trigger. And then what is the trigger pull on that thing? It's pretty easy,
See, you can see that's what he was doing there, and that they've actually showed exactly when it happened. Or, this was a previous time, because he maybe did it again after, another day. But that was the move there. So I think it's interesting what this guy's saying. He's saying that people that aren't familiar with guns, if you put a gun in their hand, they automatically put their finger over the trigger. So I thought that was quite interesting. Let's go back over that because I think that's really interesting for him to say that.
Says his finger wasn't on the trigger. If he hasn't shot a lot, that's a natural recourse. I was just working with some firearm shooting. And the first thing they do is, they always put their finger on the trigger, and that's the biggest lesson. So I kind of feel like he may not know it was on the trigger. And then what is the trigger pull on that thing? It's pretty easy, they pull, especially if adrenaline's rushing and he's working in a set. So to break the gun and see if it was an accidental discharge or negligent discharge, I don't know. I just see that there's so many issues that had happened on that set.
Now, David, in this cross draw, right? if his finger's not on the trigger and he's pulling back the hammer, the gun is built in a way that it's not gonna fire.
Exactly.
It cannot fire. There is no way that a hammer goes forward unless the trigger is pulled rearward, period. I mean, so what I think might have happened, as he, Stuart's exactly correct. You have to train people to keep their finger out of the trigger guard. So what I think, and this is just pure speculation, he reaches in, takes the pistol, the finger's on the trigger with pressure. He comes out, he points the pistol, and he cocks the hammer, and maybe it slips. Or maybe he thinks it's going to lock back the way, I'm assuming that's part of that. That would have been the scene, lock the hammer back, and then threaten whoever you point. I don't know what the actual acting entails. But if he had pulled the hammer back with pressure on that trigger, now it's going to go forward, it's going to strike the round, and tragedy results.
Yeah. So I mean, just common sense would say, and that's why I said at the very beginning that I think Alec's biggest mistake was to deny that he pulled the trigger. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he meant to do it. I'm just saying that I feel that because he said that that was one of the first things he said, he can't now go back on it. So anyway, that's quite interesting. Us three enjoyed it, didn't we? I think it'll be
Hold on,
interesting.
Jan. Okay, so when it comes to, let's say he did have his finger on the trigger, like he never said that he didn't. Then would it be on the live ammo? Wouldn't it? Because I still feel like there should never be live ammo.
Exactly. There shouldn't have been. I don't understand why there would be.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense to me. And but having said that, there are people responsible for it, and I think that Alex is trying to blame everybody other than him, because he's saying, "Oh, but I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't pull the trigger." Well, you did, because the gun wouldn't have gone off if you hadn't have pulled it, right? So you did pull it. Now, I think he's saying that because he's trying to get the girl, or he's trying to get the onus put on the girl. And I don't think that's really fair. I think she should be held accountable. Definitely. I think this is her here. I think that's her. Now, this woman, she's a testimony. She's a chief medical investigator. And the worrying thing about what she said, which I won't play now, is that she feels that the first responders didn't do the right thing. They put in I don't know, I'm not very medically minded, but apparently they fed something into the girl's body and it was put in the wrong place.
Oh,
So
wow.
what they're
Okay.
saying now is, well, does that mean she could have lived? And I don't want to, talk about that specifically at the moment, but that's something else that they're saying, that the first
This is
responders
so terrible.
cocked it up
They're
as
all
well.
partly but they're all partly to blame.
Yes.
It's like, they're trying to throw away the hot potato or something.
I know.
Oh, this is terrible.
It's awful. And also what they said is that what they were trying to get out of this woman, the chief medical investigator, was could that have caused, her death? Would she have survived the bullet in the chest if they hadn't have cocked up the thing that went into the trachea? I think it was. They put it in wrong. So, which can cause, serious implications. So, there's that going on as well. But I think one thing I've learned about trials is that they will try anything to redirect I don't know whether it's going to be a jury case or whatever, but redirect the point of the trial. And I think that I don't like it. I don't like it. At the end of the day, in my opinion, both Alec and the girl that should have been looking after the gun are culpable. If it wasn't for them and the fact that there was live ammo on the set, then that girl would never have died. Who decided to have live ammo? That's what I would want to know. Whose idea was it to have live ammo? And, it'll be interesting to see whether they bring up the case that twice before a gun had gone off. I mean, for God's sake. Anyway, I think it's an interesting case. Maybe we can have another look back on it, maybe because I think this is just about the girl and whether she's gonna be go down for doing that, whether she'll be I think she is charged with it already.
Convicted.
Yeah, convicted. That's the word. And I also think it would be quite interesting if she's convicted. Does that mean that Alec will definitely be convicted? Who's the most responsible? I don't know. I mean, my
Well, I
finger
feel
points
like
at Alec.
yeah, because I don't think in like America's gun culture that just like her having live ammo around would be enough to be convicted, sadly enough.
Exactly. And that's why I think it would be very unfair if she goes down and he doesn't. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. There was a bit where they show I didn't watch all that bit, but there was a bit, and I don't know if it was on this video, where they show her in the car when the first responders first arrive. And she's, I wouldn't say, oh, there she is. Right, we'll just watch this and then we'll move on. And then we'll head
Our
out.
cars have always had great range, great dynamics. Then to integrate all the functionality that you have in a typical crossover.
Those monitors in front of them so they can see this up close. So first responders get on scene and it's chaos. And eventually they end up talking with the defendant, in this case, Hannah Gutierrez. And what we're going to show you are some of the comments that Hannah makes. This is going to be through a bathroom door. You can hear her talking about her career as an armorer being over. And she says, "Welcome to the worst day of my life." Let's take a listen.
I don't want to go back. Okay. I just want to go here and never show my face in this industry ever again. Well, I wouldn't say that. Oh, I would. How long have you been working here? Just a month. Just a month? Yeah. I've just been doing this job for like 9 months now. Okay.
Do you know, I think what's so heartbreaking about this is that this young girl seems more concerned about her career than the fact that some other young girl has been killed. All she's worried about is her life. Oh, well, I'm not going to be able to show myself on any more sets again. And, that's my life over as an armorer. What about the poor girl that... Anyway, that's that. I'm done. I'm getting annoyed. So, yeah. I mean, have you got anything else to say on it, Edna?
I did, but I can't remember now. It's fine. What's gonna say? No clue. But I think this would be great to revisit again because I'm very interested.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? There's another case that I'd like to cover at some point. Well, there's quite a few, so I think it's quite nice to sort of just chat. I mean, especially as there's not very many of us in here, it's just quite interesting. And if if I lose the video, it doesn't really matter because there's not really many of us in here. So anyway, thanks Edna for coming. As usual, it's always a joy to have you on. And yeah, it's nice to sort of look at, different things. When we were talking about maybe discussing true crime, I thought, oh, that's quite interesting. So anyway, you have a nice couple of days before Drama Friday. And I'll see
Just
you.
one day. What do you mean?
One day.
It's
Yeah.
gonna
Forgot
be
about
here before we know it. And there's
Yeah.
already with the amount of people that are live right now, Jan, we need to have an emergency drama Thursday. No, it's kidding. See you all Friday.
I'm
Bridge, fish,
I'm sure
battle.
there's gonna be
No.
a lot to go over. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot to go over, but it's quite nice not to have to talk about it
No.
on a
Yeah.
Wednesday, isn't it? I like it. Anyway, so thanks to everybody that popped in. Thanks to everybody that's come and watched the replay. Always appreciated. Always trying to come up with different things to talk about. Hope you enjoyed the true crime section. Let me know if you'd like me to cover more cases and just sort of chat about what's going on in this wonderful world in which we live in. But in the meantime, you take care of yourselves out there, because it really is a rotten old world. And I'll see you on Friday. So you take care and see you very soon. I'm trying to find my outro. Bye bye for now.